Hi, I'm Kylie. Welcome to Just Another Army Vet 2.0, which is a channel dedicated to India. Today is my part 2 and final part reaction to the film, The Silence of the Swastika, The Biggest Betrayal. Thanks again to aktk documentary for letting me react to this. Let's get to it.
Some argue that Hitler was against Christianity. Some examples of this are also given. But this is cherry-picking a few facts from Hitler's political portfolio.
So I don't think that Hitler was against Christianity. I think that he just distorted Christianity to fit his own narrative so he could do and say what he wanted.
Or cursorily comparing the nuances in Protestantism with Catholicism. According to the 1933 census, about 67% of Germany's Christians were Protestants and 33% Roman Catholic. Indubitably, these statistics are significant for a politician.
So what I want to see is a breakdown of the German population by religion. What percentage was Jewish? What percentage was Christian? What percentage was this religion, that religion, etc.?
In his book, Mein Kampf, Hitler states that the Catholic Church cannot comprehend the problems and issues of German people because the prime body which governs the Catholic Church is not located in Germany.
It's in Rome.
Subtly, he meant, since the central body of Catholic Christianity is in Rome, while the seeds of Protestantism were planted in Germany, the Catholic Church will not be able to empathize with Germany's problems.
People often cite such examples to show Hitler was against Christianity. But it is nowhere close to the truth, which essentially was that Hitler's beliefs on Jesus Christ and Christianity were often in conflict with the ideologies of Catholic Christianity.
And if he was against Christianity, I don't think he would have chosen the gamidian as his symbol.
For example, rejecting the Old Testament of the Bible, because it is also accepted by the Jews, and calling Jesus Christ a German or the first Nazi. These actions were radically out of sync with the ideology of the Catholic Church. But are these conclusive to say Hitler was against Christianity holistically?
I have never heard that before. The first Nazi and a German?
In 1920, Hitler's Nazi party officially published 25 points of German religion. It is clearly written on the 24th point of this publication that the Nazi party advocates the tenets of Christianity.
He called it the German religion?
The struggle we are fighting today, which will either finish with our end or by victory, in the real sense, the struggle is between Jesus Christ and Marxism. These were the powerful words of one of Hitler's closest aides, Joseph Goebbels. April 1922, in a speech in Munich, Hitler said, "My feeling as a Christian points me to my Lord and Savior. As a fighter, it points me to the man who single-handedly recognized these Jews for what they were and summoned men to fight against them. He is the greatest warrior."
Several testimonials over the course of time vouch for Hitler and his party's adherence to Christianity. On the contrary, it is also claimed that one of the reasons for choosing the symbol was the S in Hitler's party's name, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, which is not entirely unreasonable, as referenced in Hitler's autobiography. But this symbol's association with Christianity and Hitler's radical viewpoints on Christianity could be a major reason for his selection as a Nazi party symbol. At least that's what is evident in Hitler's regime.
Are those priests?
The hooked cross was combined with a simple cross and the insignia of the German Christian movement, which was run in collaboration with Hitler's party.
DC.
The publications of the German Christian church organizations also carried similar symbols of the ordinary plain cross and the hooked cross. In a 1934 church convention, Gerard Hahn, the president of the Provincial Church Council, displays a pamphlet which bore a symbol of the plain cross superimposed on the hooked cross. A 1933 portrait from a German visual artist, John Hartfield, shows the grim reality of those times. The portrait depicts how a Nazi worker is converting the cross of Jesus Christ into the hooked cross.
In a stamp published by Hitler's government in 1938, Hitler is shown standing outside a church with a Latin cross on top and a hooked cross flag.
Every division of Hitler's armed forces were marked, had a cross and a hooked cross on every flag, whether it was the Air Force, the Army, or the Navy.
League of Nazi Women, an award for German women, the Honor Cross of German Mothers, an award to honor mothers of German soldiers, or the German Order Medal. Even the Nazi German aircrafts all featured the cross and the hook cross together.
Hitler's belief in Christianity has often been a moot point over the years. In 2010, Pope Benedict XVI said in a speech that Hitler was an atheist who wanted to obliterate mankind's belief in God. But the belt worn by Nazi soldiers during the war had the inscription Gott mit uns, i.e., God with us. The nexus of eminent Christian leaders of that period with Hitler and his Nazi party has also been questioned over the years. Most of them have been shown saluting the Nazis. A few protested, only to be silenced subsequently. However, the most shocking has been the silence of the top leaders of Christianity in that era, i.e. Pope Pius XI.
What is a papal secretary of state? That's what I want to know. I've never even heard that term before.
It can be debated whether or not Hitler believed in traditional Catholic Christianity. But the fact that there was some form of Christian influence on Hitler and his government was even brought to limelight by the media of his enemy nations at that time. On May 16, 1941, the Daily Mirror in England published a cartoon defining Hitler's regime. An ape was shown as Hitler, who was turning a simple Latin cross into a Hakenkreuz, and the new Christianity, 100% Aryan, was used as a caption for the cartoon's theme. It is clear from here that Hitler's policies, ideologies, and the work done under his regime was called New Christianity, whose poisonous seeds were sown under this sign and which germinated to propagate cannibalism. It can now be understood.
Cannibalism? If someone wants to explain that reference, I would appreciate it. I've never heard of the term cannibalism in reference to Hitler or the Nazis, so.
That this symbol of Hitler had no association whatsoever with the swastika, a Hindu symbol, even from a religious belief perspective. But the big question is, what was the media and society of that time calling this symbol of Hitler's Nazi party?
On November 21st, 1922, the New York Times published the first article about Hitler, in which his ardent followers were called Hakenkreuzler, which means followers of the Hakenkreuz. In the same article, the word Hakenkreuz was used in about 4 different places for Hitler's symbol, and it was said that this Hakenkreuz uprising of Hitler's is a hit.
Here the word Hakenkreuz, however, is not defined at all, as if people are well aware of this sign.
In December 1923, the New York Times published another article referencing Hakenkreuz. However, after Hitler came to power, New York Times published another article on 19th March 1933, choosing the words hooked cross and swastika. And the article also mentioned the swastika made its way to Germany from India, a presupposition for which there has been no proof till date.
The question is, if the swastika and hooked cross are equivalents, then what is the swastika's relation to India? Because the Indian swastika is not a cross at all. A shocking revelation on this is made by the New York Times itself in 1939. December 31st, 1939, in the freezing winters, an article was published in the New York Times titled "The Antique Crosses of Christendom." The article mentioned, although there are several different types of crosses, there are 5 basic forms of a cross. Hooked cross is one of them, whose origin is lost in the savagery surrounding the swastika.
The New York Times, which described the hooked cross as the swastika in 1933, was calling the hooked cross a victim of the swastika in 1939.
In 1922, the New York Times was not the only one referring to this symbol as Hakenkreuz. Several organizations during that period tried to describe the swastika as a type of cross or a unique symbol.
The Basque Museum in Bayonne, France, has been issuing its bulletin for more than 80 years in French. In the 1936 bulletin, the museum called the sign the Basque Cross. Further, it says that the swastika does not exist in the Basque region, although crosses of this type are very common.
In the 19th century, Professor Max Müller also strongly said that the symbols on the archaeological or historical remnants of Troy should not be called a swastika.
The word Hakenkreuz is present in the 1798 Adlong Dictionary of German Words, and it is described as, quote, a cross decorated with hooks, unquote. But the word swastika is not seen anywhere in it, which implies the German society knew Hakenkreuz as a cross, not as swastika.
A very good point right there.
This is the conundrum. How did a society in which crosses were an integral part and carried deep symbolism, where various crosses were part of the culture for millennia, often even carved in stone, a society that was hardly exposed to swastika, suddenly start referring to Hakenkreuz by another name? While all this was brewing in Europe, it was too far removed from the common Indian, still colonized by the Britishers, to fathom the deviousness of this game which would haunt their future generation. The answer is hidden in the translation and spread of Hitler's autobiography.
In Mein Kampf, Hitler describes the colors and symbols of his party's flag, according to which Hakenkreuz symbolizes the goal of his party, which is the struggle for the victory of the Aryan race. And the goal of victory of that ideal creative work, which will always be anti-Semitic and fatal for Jewish people.
Here, what does Hitler mean by creative work, which will be fatal for Jews? He did not describe it. But in future, does Hitler create something which proves fatal for Jews? The answer is a single word.
After trampling Poland, Hitler built the Auschwitz concentration camp in 1939. In simple words, it was a factory for the total genocide of Jewish people. By 1944, nearly 1.1 million people were brutally killed there, of which over 900,000 were Jews. And
I know that was Auschwitz, which I believe was the largest concentration camp, but there were hundreds of smaller camps and also many other large camps as well. I have been to 2 of these camps, one of them actually twice, but it looks just like they're showing in the video. And when you actually visit these camps, it is a very eerie feeling that you just can absorb from the atmosphere. I mean, you know that something horrible actually happened there. It is just a very surreal experience. If you ever get a chance to visit a concentration camp, then I suggest you actually go. It's a very important experience that I think everyone should actually partake in. And yes, obviously it is a very emotional experience as well.
And this is in a single camp. By the end of World War II, Hitler killed a total of about 6 million Jews. The whole world was stunned by this diabolical and unprecedented creation of Hitler.
This genocidal creative work was carried under the flags bearing the Hakenkreuz, which today has become a symbol for anti-Semitism and hate groups, just that they now incorrectly call it swastika. This change of a single word is one of the greatest deceits of the 20th century. Let us now see how it was executed.
From a Western perspective, I've never heard of the term Hakenkreuz before, neither have most Americans. The majority of Americans and Westerners and the world has heard of the swastika. However, what we think of as a swastika is really this mislabeling of the Hakenkreuz. So this video is definitely bringing that to light, which I think is good.
In 1931, Hitler's book Mein Kampf is translated into English by E.T.S. Dugdale, in which Hakenkreuz is translated as hooked cross. Never once does the book mention swastika. This was when Hitler had not yet come into power, but had become popular. Hitler came to power in 1933 and without wasting any time started executing a script of the persecution of Jewish people. The script began by snatching the human rights of Jews and ended with snatching their right to life. In 1939, Hitler destroyed Poland. Britain also jumped into World War II, and in the same year, Hitler's book Mein Kampf is retranslated into English, this time by a man named James Murray.
This rapidly became the most popular English translation of Mein Kampf, or My Struggle. And in here, every mention of Hakenkreuz is translated to swastika, and thus began the process of changing a symbol of peace and well-being to an emblem of extreme evil and hatred.
So why did he change the translation? That's what I want to know. I'm hoping they touch upon that.
In his book, Hitler says that the Hakencruz will be deadly for the Jews. This was a sign under which a horrifying genocide took place, and whose origins could be traced to Christianity. This would have been the biggest stigma on Christianity in entire history.
James Murphy, who translated Hitler's book in English, was himself a Christian priest. Could someone associated with Christianity tolerate such a big stigma on Christianity? Is this why James Murphy translated the Hakenkreuz into the swastika?
Whether this was a mischief of an individual or a bigger concerted plan, James Murphy is not here today to explain. But the fact that Murphy translated incorrectly is indisputable. The unassailable truth is that Hitler never called the Nazi symbol a swastika. Others falsely equated Hakenkreuz with the swastika. In spite of this, initially, the swastika did not become the default name for the Nazi symbol.
American culture. In a 1946 publication of essays on American culture and literature in Arizona Quarterly, Hitler and his followers were referred to as Gammideon-minded.
Around the same time, in the Journal of Education, volume 127, published in 1944, the Nazi symbol was called Filfot or Gammideon. Then how did this symbol become swastika for the common man? For clues to this answer, see this scene from a 1959 Hollywood movie, Prohibido.
You know, that used to be our shoulder patch till we switched to the Thunderbird. Christianity? The swastika. That's an old American Indian sign that Hitler copied from us. Believe it or not, the 45th Division used to wear the swastika right here.
An American soldier wearing a swastika?
Well, we had it long before Adolph got the idea.
Film, a popular medium that reaches door to door. Over time, the use of swastika for the Nazi symbol spread to every book written on Hitler and in every article in every type of media. Media can create powerful narratives which a common man cannot decipher. In a single generation, media can even falsify a hard fact. And this is how swastika became completely associated with Hitler and Nazism. This lie has been living and growing in the minds of people for decades now. But for how long?
Hitler never, ever used swastika.
Hitler benutzte das Wort Hakenkreuz. Das bedeutet nicht, dass es Swastik.
It was Hakenkreuz.
A symbol used in church.
Which was wrongly turned into swastika.
The glory of swastika should be restored.
Swastik is a symbol of our civilization.
It has been misused for decades.
Its misuse must stop.
And it is your responsibility now.
Because the seeds of real civilization will grow even in the desert. There may be delays, but the truth has to come out and reclaim its place.
Mind blown. The best stereotypical phrase to use for what I'm experiencing right now. I mean, everything I knew about this symbol has been completely turned upside down. I mean, my part 1 video, my intro, I was talking about how I thought this video was about how Hitler took an ancient Hindu or Buddhist symbol and just morphed it into a symbol of hate and evil. And that couldn't be any more wrong. I had no idea that the swastika was the actual name of the Hindu symbol, whereas the Hakenkreuz, or the hooked cross, was the actual symbol that Hitler was using. And it is insane to think that one man could be responsible for this distortion of this word, this symbol. And that's James Murphy. He completely did the world a disservice by translating Hakenkreuz as swastika. What was he thinking? Did he have some hidden agenda? Or did he just think, hey, that's an easy word to use, I'm just going to use that word? the world will never know. Why is this not taught in schools? I mean, I think that this film should be shown to every high school student in the Western world just so they can get a better understanding of what the swastika is not. I can see why aktk documentary channel gave me permission to react to this. I think they want this message to get out to as many people as possible. So there are a few things that you can do to help this film get spread to more people. You can like, comment, and share on this video, but more importantly, you can go to the original video, I'll link it down below, and like, comment, and share there as well. Every time you do those things, you give the video a boost in the algorithm. Until next time, I have some more videos on the screen you might want to check out. Thanks for the great recommendation, and thanks for watching.